There's the red light. Okay. Okay, purpose and requirements. If you don't know what you're building, how do you know when you're done? Bob Millar, man from whom I learned a lot. Now, some general points. A lot of your requirements did not focus on your 2 demos. Some of them did, a lot of them did not. A lot of, I didn't say be extremely detailed, but a lot of you were a bit more sparse than I was expecting. Okay? And your initial grades on your requirements may reflect that. I think this is worth 3 points. I'm going to go through and issue a grade for each of them, but you can revise your requirements document. You can make it better. And keep in mind that when I grade a requirements document for a team, that's the grade that everyone on a team is getting for it. So if you're not happy with the grade your requirements document got for your team, I suggest you spend time improving the requirements document. And I'll talk about some of those. Okay. Here are some questions to ask yourself. If you had someone join your team right now, how useful would your requirements document be as far as bringing her or him up to speed? How much will this document help you to write your test plan that you have to do in a few weeks? In other words, the test plan should be, yes, we are meeting requirements. How much is it oriented towards the user experience and user interface? I did note that a number of you used user stories, a good technique. A truism, it's trite, but it is nevertheless true. Output ultimately determines the whole rest of the program. The work that your program does, the things, the data that comes out of it, the information that comes out of it, the user interface presented, ultimately goes backwards, determines everything that has to happen inside, and determines all the inputs as well. So a good place to start is, what will this actually look like? What are we going to be delivering to the user? Or at least to the destination, whatever that destination is. And how are we doing that? Okay. I think Wacky Compete. Who's got Wacky? And you said you were getting me the...
Well, I submitted it just like a couple hours ago.
Yeah,
so
okay. I don't have it up here yet, but...
I can talk about it anyway.
Yeah, give us just and keep it brief on your approach and what you have.
Yeah, so basically we don't really know how the game's going to work right now because like the idea is kind of weird. So we've got a basic idea of we're going to be building a board game based type thing, and we're going to basically have an entity so you can just go around the board and then pick up power-ups along the way. And then we just set a whole bunch of stretch goals that once we've got that basic thing implemented, we'll work towards those stretch goals because we won't know how the game will feel after our basic version. So once we've got the basic version done, we'll work on some of these extra things that maybe we'll balance it more towards. We want it to be balanced between sabotaging other players, between a little bit of skill and we have a little bit of luck so that new players can just jump into it. And so we want to be able to just get up a really good prototype and then start adding stuff to it once we get it.
Now, I did like your status report. It showed your team was already putting in significant hours, and it's been updated. Again, I will look at your status reports every Monday morning also. In some cases, I will go back and compare to the previous week just to see what changed. There is a tendency, and I speak as someone who has literally been through hundreds of thousands of pages of software project documents. Mostly because my work as an expert witness. Because a big thing which I do is I build timelines to figure out where the project started to go wrong. And one of the things I like the most are weekly status reports. And what I see so often are weekly status reports that are the same week after week after week. They simply copied it and changed the date and did 1 or 2 changes. And then it gets to a certain point, and all of a sudden you have this dramatic change. And oops, well, yeah, actually, things are going bad, and here's the problem, and so on and so forth. So I will be looking at these. Anyway, it was a nice status report, so it was informative. Okay, CLC painting. Hang on a second here. Let's see if this will bring it up. Okay, I'll just do a quick scroll through the requirements document that I got so that you can see what we had here. most of the requirements documents look like this. Like I said, they were pretty sparse. I think they could be fleshed out a lot more. Two things that you had that others had that I like are first optional features, which is where you start pushing the features that you really aren't going to have time to implement, but shows at least your heart was in the right place. And then an explicit not building. This is what we're trying not to do, which is a very useful thing to communicate among team members, because you will have team members who will go off and start building things that it's like, no, you just spent 2 weeks on that, we're not doing that, it's not part of the program. Anyway, your thoughts on that, your requirements document.
So we basically just split it up by different views that we'd be using and kind of just put the main bullet points, mostly because we didn't really know what exactly we were looking for, or this how specific we needed to get. We didn't really put a prototype and final kind of completion thing,
Yep.
and mostly just because our thinking was that that would come more in definition when we do the PERT and Gantt charts, and so we
Okay.
actually set up the tasks and decide what we're going to do when and
Good
kind of
save.
dependency. And other than that, I mean, we had a great time doing it together. It's great.
Yep, and I like the view orientation here. That gets back to what I was saying, is that really in the end, it comes back to the user interface. Or the API that you're presenting to someone else. Whether
Yeah, we put all this stuff on a whiteboard and drew out basic views as we understood the features, and it was fun.
Okay. Just a second, I'll get to you. Terseness is fine. Lacks the goals, great section, that's the stuff. Status report look good. Here's a suggestion for everyone, your risks and issues. Not all of you have risks and issues. Well, actually, all of you have risks and issues. Not all of you are putting them on your status report. I suggest when you put them in there that you also add in potential or suggested mitigations as to how to deal with it. There was a hand up over here. Yes?
So I was wondering, what you mentioned that it would be fleshed out. Certain sections of this could be fleshed out more.
Mhm.
Could you give maybe one example of how in this what they gave might have been just a little bit too vague?
Well, you can start with actual screenshots of what they think the UI is going to look like, even if it's hand drawn. Sort of a here's the screen. We're going to have this. We're going to have this. But there's so many prototyping tools that you can mock up a user interface very quickly without anything behind it. In fact, that's as we've talked about, is a common failing in software projects, because management says, "Oh, hey, it's done." It's like, no. This is not a finished product. But that's a good thing to keep in mind. I'll try to bring that up as we look at some of the other ones here. Prop owner, I'll start with this. It's also a bit sparse. Same issues with this, that is a lack of a specific 1112 or 10 and 1210 specification. I didn't see a status report for this past week. I see someone back up there shaking their head saying, yeah, oh yes.
Yeah, so I'm the program manager. So I said there is a status report first. It says 9:20 to 10:05, and that's what it means by 10:06. So that was the second status report that's on there.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess for what the demos that we're going to set up for like the November demo, we didn't include that on there in the December demo. For the November demo, we want to probably get two views that correctly set up, so the vendor onboarding screen and the vendor profile page. And so we'll have those things set up, connected to the back end as I guess our November demo, and then our December demo, we're going to connect all four of the views together and be able to show that, I guess, through like a final product demo.
And again, you do have this oriented by your four views, your screens and so on, which is a good organizing thing, particularly since here, you're 5 weeks away from the first demo. So you're on a very tight time frame. This is why you don't expect big, formal, voluminous requirements documents. But you do have to keep asking yourself, will all of us looking at this requirements document build the same thing? That's a very serious question. Okay. The answer is no, yeah. Even when you have large documents, that's not the answer, is often no. Okay. GM tools, and we'll go over this and then I'll bring it up. Things I liked. What are we building? Here are key features. Again, was lacking the 1112 and 1210 stuff. Status report, there were some formatting issues with the status report. I don't know if that's how you did the capture or whatever. The key tasks says raises good issue, namely how much is listed, what should be listed. Also, what happens if you have more tasks than form supports? I think yours was the one that actually had a bunch of, maybe someone else has had a bunch of extra key issues. Anyway, oops, no, I am not recording. I've got to disable the middle mouse button if I touch it even briefly. Okay, so here's how they had it written. What are we building? Key features, general requirements, and then that sort of is where it stops. Who's from the project wants to talk about this for just a minute or so? Yes.
So I guess what we were mainly focusing on is these are the features we want to present at the showings, which I guess we didn't explicitly state. But that's what we want to do there is show those off and show how it works. And I guess for the status report, I think there's a big difference between the Excel and then the Google Sheets. Which
Okay.
is probably
So you're doing it, it's probably imported into Google Sheets.
So
Because there was text that was running off. That
yeah,
couldn't
I
read,
think
so-
that's what happened. So
Okay. Let's go back here. I'm trying not to drag this out too long. Life tracker. Requirements, terse, but adequate. You do have the 11-12 and 12-10 goals. You do have a what it is not section, which I like. Status report look good. Billable hours look good. You had one delayed task, the design app structure. I might suggest this is simply when you have tasks that are delayed, they go in a little delayed tasks box. It's good to put a note there as to why. It may be gathering information. It may be we've reshifted priorities. Something that indicates why a task was delayed from what you originally thought. And this will become more important as after you've done your PERT and Gantt charts.
Loading. So ours is private.
That's probably why.
CS428 now.
Yeah, I probably have to go over. That's okay. We'll skip it. Okay, Python games, literals. You do have specifications. I liked it. It was nice. You did have obstacles and what's not known. Basically, you had risks. Some risks explicitly called out in requirements. General comment is, there's often a certain self-satisfaction that comes in having status reports and having all these completed things and having them week after week. It's truly completed. You should drop it off your next week's status report. And a general rule, I was actually, billable hours are pretty much what I expected, which is why I dropped the 7 hours everywhere for every person. A few of you actually put in quite a few hours with your last status report. You're obviously working on it very heavily. At this point, given what you're going to have to do with the requirements, start acting upon the requirements, you work on scheduling and so on, I expect to see billable hours ramping up pretty quick. Okay, requirements. There's your goal and introduction. Features and systems, deliverables, obstacles and unknown. Again, this is a good 1 week statement of what we're trying to do, but you're going to want to flesh this out. And in fleshing it out, keep in mind your team organization. In other words, you want to start looking for places where how you can divide up the requirements such that it is very clear. And I think someone does this on the requirements. I was very impressed. They identified several key aspects of it and said, here's the person in charge of this. So we're going to see that in a few minutes. I strongly recommend that because that, again, helps to reduce, doesn't eliminate, but helps to reduce one of the biggest problems in software projects, which is, I thought he was working on it. No, I thought he was working on it. You want to make clear who is responsible for that. Okay, let's Puzzle RPG, prose description, works well, has a nice description of it. Status report. The task plans, you have the task completed, task deferred, task plans. Task plans should by and large focus on tasks you intend to start in the coming week. In some of the status reports, it seemed to be everything that you thought you still had left to do on the project. But the focus should be, here's what, because ideally what you want to do is if you look at 2 successive status reports, you should see tasks planned here, and hopefully all of those show up in either task completed, task deferred, or tasks still planned. Let's bring this up. Okay, here we had a prose overall description, specific requirements, again, with some, there won't, this is what it's like, there won't be this, you know, there won't be any adventuring off the land. Have descriptions of November and December demo. This is a good start, but you need more details as far as the work that you actually need to accomplish and how you know when you're done. Okay. Data analytics tool. This was the one that I was talking about. It was very impressive. Had an ordering of the tasks, identified the task leads, had a description and user story for each one. It didn't have the 2 demo descriptions. Showed a lot of billable hours for the past week, so that was impressive too. Let's see if I can get to this one. So you have summary, technologies, I like that. Oh, so there we go, requirements. So we have these numbered features with team leader, brief description, user story. So now you know who is responsible for each of those. That's a good idea to steal in revising your requirements, is to break it up into chunks, because again, remember Conway's law, your architecture is going to follow your communications organization. Look at your team, look at how it's organized, and figure out how to chunk the work so that work as much as possible is self-contained within a team member or a small team subgroup, with clearly and loosely coupled interfaces. So again, tight cohesion, loose coupling. Okay, the social media one. My condolences, I thought it was too sparse. It was 4 lines. It had no dates there. The status report said that the requirements task was complete. I don't think the requirements are complete. So that's the start of a header outline, but there should be significant requirements under those detailing just what these do and how they work, how they interact with each other, responsibilities, and again, the November, December demos. ParkMe, nice organization. Does lack the 2 demo descriptions. Status report looked fine. Oh, would you stop that? Status report looked fine. So here we have a list of core requirements here, which, again, good start, good list. You've detailed a number of things. This little organization here. The 1112 and 1210 apps, that's nicely. Additional features potentially out of scope, which means almost certainly out of scope. But it's a nice way of capturing. Actually, the nice thing about doing this is it also serves as a bucket to say, okay, this is something we wanted to do and we're probably not going to get to it. So you put it in there. It can shape what you're doing, because some of you may want to carry on with this afterwards. So you haven't lost the ideas that you had. They're documented there. And when you're doing your implementation, you can lay the groundwork for some of this stuff. Yes?
On that topic, in your experience, where do teams and development organizations typically store the documentation for what they build? Is it attached to the repo? Is it a separate entity?
Oh my gosh, it's all over the place.
Okay.
Where
What
should
should
it
it be?
be? Where should it be? It should be it should be under change control, so you can go back and look at earlier versions. And it should be accessible to everyone. So depending on what technology you're using, you know, if you're using GitHub, if you're using Silverlight, whatever you're using, make sure it's there so that people can look at it. You may have, in a formal organization, editing logs so that people can look at it, but only a few people can actually edit it. The reason you want version control is because people will go in and change things, and then they'll come back and say, well, no, actually, we're not going to do that. And just like code, you can roll it back. But you do want it easily located, preferably online. Of course, I'm old enough that, and you see Fred Brooks talking about, 3 feet of manuals. That's the documentation, and that's the specification. And I've worked in those environments. And frankly, they're a nightmare. Be grateful for the web. Be grateful for online documentation, repositories, and electronic hubs, and so on. Got a few simple stories down here at the bottom. So, this is in my opinion, a very good start. Text-based adventure games, sparse, but then again, a lot of you are sparse. It does have November and December descriptions, but it has the wrong dates for them. So you want to check your calendar dates on there. Status report had a single task called create simple prototype, was labeled as being 100% complete, but labeled as on track instead of finished. You actually need more detail and consistency here as far as what it is in status report. I'll bring up the requirements. So again, this is pretty sparse, and though actually you moved a lot of it down to what you want for the November and December dates. That's feasible. But again, flesh this out, figure out who's responsible. Math but more, okay.
There it goes.
Went all the way out. I have more trouble with the middle button. So, okay. Requirements here I thought were a bit too sparse. Also lacked the November and December thing. It was a great status report. I may go bring up your status report because I thought it was outstanding. Here's the requirements. Again, I like the technology, code styling. You do have the front end, and that's about it. So I think you need more detail here. You need the November and December stuff. But actually, let me. I'm going to find your status report because I thought your status report was great. Okay.
Wow, cool.
Status report 2. This was a good status report. You'll notice they actually expanded this so they could add more things there. Well done. You have some good detail in there. This is a nice way, and again, part of the purpose of the status report is so that everyone knows on the team what the status of the project is. And let me make this point. I've made it in a perhaps more oblique way. If as a team member you look at the status report and say, well, wait, no, we're really not that far done on that. That's when you stand up and start waving your hand to other team members and say, hey, look, guys, we're stating that this particular task is almost finished or finished, and I think it's going to be another 2 weeks. We're not anywhere close to finished. So this needs to be a way to make sure the whole team knows and is in agreement with where you're at. And more detail for this is better than less detail because it becomes a reality check, and it's a great way of letting you know just where your team stands. So I like the status report.
One question on,
Yeah,
is this finish column, I thought that might be for the date when you were planning to have it done by, or?
yes. Typically, that's the date where you plan to have it done by. It just says done now. Hey. If you've got stuff that's on track, you should have it on track. Well, if you've got on track and you're done there, but you should have an estimated one. And a lot of this, you haven't done your PERT Gantt chart yet, so you don't know when it's going to be finished. Or at least you don't know when you think you're going to have it finished or when you're planning to have it finished by. I suspect after you do your PERT Gantt charts this week, your status report should then match the tasks that you identify in PERT and Gantt to some level. They may not be the same level of granularity, but at some level they should match both the tasks you identified and where you think the dates are going to be. Okay, my glasses on to, using built-in mouse here. That's why it's not moving cursor. Last one. Oops. File, next last one. Order of importance, hey, I like that a lot. That's a good one. I cracked up when I saw this. Okay. Life's lesson in the real world. Don't leave comments in the documents. They're going to go to management. Because it will happen. It will happen. It will go to upper management and they'll say, so what did you mean by this thing here? Jazz it up a little more. So that just made me laugh. Anyway, you have the not building. You don't have the December and November stuff there. Yeah, November, December. And I don't think I found the status report. You guys, I think I pinged you on this. Was there a status report done for the past week?
I got it on Sunday, actually, so it might have been a little bit late, but it would have been underneath on the main page.
Okay, I may have missed it, so I will look at that again. Trash talk. Oops, I forgot the link. But I'll just say, again, it looks a lot like others. What I liked is they had a version 0.0, 0.1, and 1.0. They didn't have an explicit November and December descriptions, but the version stuff is good. That's a level of granularity. It's kind of like, okay, this is, and again, you're under an impossibly tight deadline, which I'd apologize for, but no, you're going to face the same thing in the real world. They're going to say, oh yeah, we need this done in 2 months. Like, are you nuts? No, we need it done in 2 months. We have to meet our quarterly, we have to ship this by the end of the quarter. How many of you, boy, this is going to date me because I'm sitting here thinking, oh no, I think most of you were probably like in junior high back then. How many, was any here old enough to be buying your own games when Civilization 4 came out? Oh, there we go. Hey, good for you. The Civ 4 launch was a disaster. It had serious, serious problems when it came out. And it's because the company pushed it out in time for Christmas sales. And it was not ready for prime time. And they got a big black eye, and it took them about 6 months to really clean it up. I had a very negative review on Amazon, which I went back after they cleaned it up and cleaned up the review as well. And that, is it Arkham Asylum, one of the Batman games, went through the same thing. So what you see is companies will push stuff out for marketing purposes that is not, it's software that's not ready for prime time, and it always hurts. It always hurts. Yes?
Was this back in the day where they would just like update it, or did you still have to like buy the CD-ROM? At that point?
Let's see. Civ 4, I think you can still buy the CD-ROM. I think I bought mine electronically. I've actually found that very fascinating because I used to have lots and lots of CD-ROMs.
How did they fix it?
Huh?
How did they fix it? If it's,
Well, then you had updates you could download and so on. Even if you bought it on CD-ROM. But that is in just about any industry you're in, you'll see that happen. Stuff will be pushed out before it's ready. Yes.
So as far as like that whole management pushing out practice software to production thing, how do you prevent that? Like,
Well, you can't, you're not management.
you just take
You write up a memo and say, this is why this is gonna be a disaster, and you send it to them, and you put a hard copy of your file in your desk and keep it under lock and key.
prepare to fire thing?
Well, it's not so much prepared to be fired as much when they come back to try and, well, I think I told you the story. This happened with Pages, where I had prepared a schedule, and Larry said, this is good enough, we need to ship 6 months sooner. I said, Larry, we can't, this is the schedule. He said, no, I want to schedule 6 months sooner. So I prepared him a schedule, it was 6 months sooner, and then we were late, and he came back to me to chew me out, and I literally went over to my filing cabinet, and pulled open the top drawer, went through, and pulled out and said, this is the schedule I originally gave you, you told me it was not acceptable. And he turned around and left, and never mentioned the schedule to me again. So, that was actually, in some respects, a satisfying one. Unfortunately, we were later than that schedule was, so I didn't have a lot to gloat about. It was still a bad, it was still overly optimistic. But he forced me to do one that was even more overly optimistic. Any more questions? Let's take the bio break now. Come back at 10 till. I trust you all can actually get, since there's no competition, we'll get to the restrooms quicker than that. We'll start up again at 10 till, and we'll talk about your next assignment.